We do so now by hearing the words that come to us from the prophet Isaiah. Words written centuries ago that still speak to our hearts today. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. You have multiplied the nation. You have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as people exult when dividing plunder. For the yoke of their burden and the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor, you have broken, as on the day of Midian. For all the boots of the tramping warriors and all the garments rolled in blood shall be burned as fuel for the fire. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders, and he is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time onward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Pray with me. Lord, may the words of my mouth and meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. You who are our rock and our Redeemer. So not so long ago, in a suburb less than a parsec away, on May 25th, 1977, I did go to the opening night of Star Wars. It was nowhere near the big deal that it is now. It sort of sneaked up on you, a couple of newspaper articles, something in Time magazine. Oh, this movie is going to change the way you see everything. Sure. So, how amazing it was to go to that film and see things we had never seen before. In fact, I still have... Hey, I was a teenager then. Barely, but I was a teenager. Actually, this was given to me by a kid in our youth group many years ago who said I was something like a master Jedi. I'm not sure it was true, but because he thought so, it's one of my prized possessions. Anyway, as an impressionable youth and someone who was also part of the church, it seemed really amazing, the connections there between what they talked about in Star Wars and between faith, the Force, this unseen power that binds all things together. It was pretty easy to think about the Spirit of God that holds all things together, and that Christian belief, that creation didn't just happen once long ago, it happens each and every day when the Spirit says to the Son, come on, rise again, and all things are held together by the Spirit of the living God. But there's not a one-to-one correspondence between faith and Star Wars, not even close. I mean, the Force in Star Wars is impersonal. And the God of the Bible, the God who was born in Bethlehem, who became subject to the world that God had made, that God is anything but impersonal. But still there was something powerful about Star Wars. Maybe most of all because Star Wars, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark, and those Indiana Jones movies that came not so many years after that, they actually made a place and believed in a place in which there was a power greater than what we see. That force, that power behind the lost Ark of the Covenant, they were real and powerful. And these movies, despite all we hear about this Hollywood climate that's so anti-belief, they celebrated the fact that there's more to life, more to the universe than what we can see. We live in a time when science is answering all kinds of questions, when some would say science is squeezing religion out, that there won't be any more room for faith. I don't know about you, but the more questions science answers, the more amazing everything is, the more beautiful the world is, the more mysterious it is, and the more it leads to awe and wonder, which is the root experience of all religion. In Star Wars dares to suggest, as it does through Luke Skywalker's quest, that being connected to that force, being connected to the mystery, to the beauty that's at the heart of the universe, that's the only life really worth living. That's powerful stuff in any galaxy. Now, the Force can be used for good or evil in Star Wars. Powerful evil, and yet powerful good as well. And there are those, who say the same thing about religion. That's the great atheist critique of religion right now, is that religion is not just that atheists don't believe it, but it's harmful to us. And you don't have to look too far in history, just a few days ago really, to see how religion can be harmful. And that's across the board in all faiths. All of us, people of faith, have our episodes in the past that do not reflect the truth of what we believe. And Star Wars said that too. The Force can be used for good or evil, and atheists say, so religion, the bad of religion, makes it something we should get rid of, something we should toss away. And rely instead on reason, on what science can discover. But the only problem with that is that science, like religion, like anything, can be used for powerful good, but also for powerful evil. So I think we're right back where we started from, where the way that you deal with evil in the world is by attending and seeking what is good, and what is right, and what is true. And our faith, at its best, leads us to that same quest, that same search. So Isaiah the prophet talks about the people who walked in darkness. He's talking about the people in Jerusalem. He's talking about people in Alderaan. He's talking about people here in San Diego. We know about darkness. In Jerusalem, it was the Assyrian threat knocking at the gates of the city. For us, it's terror. For the people of Jerusalem and for people of us, we all know what darkness is, what it is to deal with despair, with tragedy, with grief. The people who walked in darkness are us. And yet, the people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. The people who walked in darkness have seen this light that somehow connects us to the mystery, to the beauty that is at the heart of all things. And what's the sign of that, Isaiah said? What is the sign of this? Unto you a child is born, unto you a son is given. Which is at once the most everyday, ordinary sign, and at the same time the most amazing, the most life-changing, the most life-transforming experience. Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. And so on Christmas we celebrate the birth of this child. This child who has many names, according to Isaiah. And knowing this child is to see the light. And so I ask you today, if you ever have had the experience of benefiting from the wisdom that came to you from beyond yourself, then you have seen the light of a wonderful counselor. If you have ever had the experience of feeling like you had hit the dead end, that you'd come to the end of your rope, that life as you know it is pretty much over, only to discover that there was something more, that this was not in fact the end, that no, there was a lot more life left to live, then you have seen the light of a mighty God. If you have felt yourself perhaps bereft in despair and yet somehow held by a love that comes from beyond this world, then you have seen the light of an everlasting Father. And if you have ever felt summoned by a power beyond yourself to go out there and make some corner of the world a better place, then you have heard the call of the Prince of Peace. People who have walked in darkness have seen a great light. Sometimes that light may seem to you overwhelming. Sometimes it may seem to you as just a flicker. But either way, I invite you this Christmas to come again to the manger, to come again to Bethlehem, so that light will be kindled in you anew. For Christ's sake, for the world's sake, and for your own sake.